So it's official, George Russell has signed a contract along with Kimi Antonelli with Mercedes for 2026, which absolutely confirms what we all thought. Max Verstappen, welcome to Mercedes for 2027. So not a hugely long video here, just something I wanted to comment on, given I've been watching this go on for a long time, and we've been discussing it a lot on the Blatantly Biased Racing podcast. But yes, Mercedes has today confirmed a contract with George Russell, a multi-year deal, which will see him drive for the team in 2026. Now, notably, the team only put 2026, and I've been rooting around and trying to find out if this is a 2+1 deal. I'm sure I'll find out over the next few days. I'm sure we'll all find out over the next few days because it will be asked about quite a bit. But from my understanding, this is still a 1+1 deal, perhaps sweetened in some other way, or George did manage to get the 2+1, but I'd be very surprised about that. Also, as expected, Kimi's deal was signed basically a long time ago, but they wanted to announce both drivers at the same time, so that is kind of as expected today. Kimi's deal was supposed to be announced at the Italian Grand Prix, with George's deal announced kind of around the same time, but George seemed to have strung things out for a bit longer with Toto, given everything we talked about in the last video. So like I said, they have announced that this is a multi-year deal, but a multi-year deal can be what's called a 1+1 as well. And for any of you who don't understand, when someone says 2+1 or 1+1, that simply means what the contract is actually signed for and what there are options for. So basically a 1+1 is that George is fully contracted, like cannot be replaced unless there's some weird circumstance for 2026, and has an option to drive for them in 2026 without a whole new contract being necessary. Now, generally speaking, it would be up to Mercedes and George to sign the contract, with Mercedes kind of being the ones to pull the trigger. What I wouldn't be surprised about here would be that if George basically has managed to wrangle something to make him happy, some concrete way to say, look, if I outperform Kimi by this amount, or if I'm here in the standings, or if I win the championship, or whatever it is, I can't be replaced. And I would imagine that's the case because I have it on pretty good grounds, and so does my co-host on Blatantly Biased Racing podcast, that Max has signed a contract in principle with the team for 2027. Now, what that means again is this is an option for 2027, that both sides have an option to drive in 2027 together, Max and Toto. And that would make sense given that we won't know what's going on with Max until kind of around June, July of 2026. And essentially, from everything again that I've gathered, if Max is outside of the top two in 2026, as in basically not winning the title or not fighting for the title, then he will be free to go wherever he wants, even though he has a contract with options up until 2028. And it sounds like basically if that happens, Toto has an option to bring him over and Max has an option to go there. It's already kind of set and done. So the question now will be for George and for Toto, who gets replaced in 2027? Is it Kimi or is it George? You would assume that Toto wants it to be George because Toto sees Kimi as his future, but I'm guessing the agreement they've come to, if it turns out there's not a 2+1, which it may be, I just don't think it will be, I'm guessing the agreement is, like I said, some sort of deal where George has it worked out that if he performs a set level compared to Kimi or whatever, he performs, that he will be allowed to stay and that Kimi will have to be replaced, which means Toto gets a bit of a headache because at the very most, he's going to want to keep Kimi under management and therefore he's going to be trying to put him into another team. Thankfully, they've got Alpine as well next year, so we may be able to just drop him there in that customer team, but we'll see. I do think, though, that if this is a 1+1, then it will be like George will have some say in that option. There's no way he signs something where he has no say in it, I would imagine. So I still think Toto needs to be careful from everything I said the other day, because realistically, if he has managed to just get both drivers on a 1+1, then he's going to need to make sure that the car is fucking amazing next year. Because if he has a car that, say, is beaten by Aston and McLaren and, who knows what Williams can do? Unlikely, but you know what I mean? If they are kind of third or fourth and nowhere near a title, then George and Max will start looking at other places to go. They're getting to that point in their career. Like, Max already has his titles, but he just wants to win. So he's going to be looking at the winning team, and George could be looking elsewhere. And both of those drivers could easily call up Aston Martin and have a really good say for an outgoing Fernando Alonso next year, for example. So I think Toto does need to be careful because he's painted himself into a situation now where he needs to have a very, very good car. And if he doesn't have a very, very good car, that could be a real issue for that team and for Toto. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.